The courtroom was full, the cameras steady, the seal above the bench shining like a warning. With a polite smile that felt like ice, the judge dismissed the Black U.S. Marshal as if his badge meant nothing. He stood 3 paces from the well, steady and silent, carrying a sealed federal order that wasn't optional. He watched the clock, counted his breath, and waited for the line to be crossed in plain sight. 7 minutes later, the same badge she mocked became the one that ended her freedom. How does power flip that fast, without a single shout? He entered the courtroom with the practiced calm of someone who has seen chaos and kept order. The judge's gaze slid past his credentials and landed where it wasn't supposed to. The room felt smaller. A developer with glossy cufflinks sat in the front row, pretending not to stare. The marshal noted exits, sight lines, the bench clock's second hand ticking smooth. He wasn't there to be liked. He was there to follow the law, deliver the order on the record, and leave. But the first cut wasn't a word, it was a tone that told him to know his place. He did. It was the laws. A clerk placed a slim envelope on the edge of the bench, federal crest embossed, chain of custody perfect. The judge glanced at it, then away, as if it didn't exist. The developer's attorney shifted forward, eager without moving. The marshal stayed still, every decision visible, every action measured. The air conditioner hummed. The court reporter's fingers hovered. The envelope was small, but its weight could change careers. He didn't need anyone's permission to deliver it. He needed the record to receive it. The judge's smile thinned. The second hand kept moving. The red light on the courtroom recorder blinked, paused, then died. The judge signaled for an off-the-record moment that wasn't procedural. The attorney leaned in as if proximity could rewrite rules. The clerk's eyes flashed uncertainty. Silence coated the walls thicker than before. The marshal's body cam stayed steady, pulsing blue at his chest. He logged the moment, the timestamp, the break in audio, the slight tremor in the bailiff's stance. Nothing to argue, everything to remember. He felt the story already writing itself, and not in the judge's favor. The judge made it look casual, a small, practiced motion that hid purpose under paper. The envelope slid beneath a stack of loose filings, angled away from sight and camera. The marshal recognized the maneuver. He had seen hands hide things before, on streets, in hallways, in offices where power pretends it's invisible. The court reporter hesitated, then looked to the bench for cues that never should have come. The judge's attention floated anywhere but the envelope. The marshal didn't move. He let the clock etch the moment into the record he knew would matter later. A nod from the bench sent the bailiff toward the marshal. Not aggressive, just enough to push. The message was plain. Step back. Leave this to us. Pretend you didn't see. The marshal's training wrapped around him like armor. He identified himself calmly, outlined the federal process briefly, and kept his hands where everyone could see them. He wasn't looking for a fight. He was building a timeline. The judge gestured to clear the gallery. People stood, confused, hungry for a whisper of why. The developer checked his watch. The marshal counted the seconds and waited for the unmistakable break. When the judge directed the clerk to hold the envelope outside the record, it stopped being disrespect and became obstruction. That single phrase was a door swinging shut on procedure. The marshal didn't flinch. He had no need. The rules were older than preference and larger than the room. He breathed once, twice. He announced, clearly, that the document must enter the record and returned his attention to the bench clock. The judge ignored the statement and reached for her stack again, ready to leave the bench with what she was no longer allowed to hide. The gallery froze. The moment crystallized. There is always a line. Sometimes it's a statute. Sometimes it's a camera lens. Sometimes it's a clock. This time it was all three. The judge gathered her papers with the envelope buried inside, turned away from the camera, and signaled for the recorder to remain off. The bailiff's duty pulled in 2 directions. The clerk's hands trembled over mute keys. The marshal stepped forward, not fast, not loud, anchored by authority that doesn't bend with rooms. He took custody of the envelope, logged the seizure for the record, and secured it with the calm of a steady hand. The judge's expression hardened into iron. The air snapped tight. The courtroom watched as titles collided with truth. On probable cause of obstructing a federal proceeding and tampering with an official record, the marshal executed the arrest with the same respect he gives to everyone. The cuff click measured, the posture professional, the tone even. No victory in his face. No anger. Only duty. The developer's features drained from confident to small. The gallery fell silent. The seal above the bench suddenly looked heavier. The marshal readied his report before the whispers had even started. Power had not been humiliated. It had been reminded. Processing happened by the book. The envelope entered the file where it always belonged. The recorder came back to life, but it didn't matter. The body cam had already seen enough. Oversight moved in with its slow, certain machinery. Emails were collected. Calls were logged. A timeline took shape that matched his memory, minute by minute, beat by beat. The story left the courthouse, and it wasn't about drama, it was about standards. People watched a professional endure contempt yet cling to process. Not ego. They saw that bias can be as quiet as a tone and as loud as a broken rule. Back at his desk, the marshal wrote with careful strokes, each sentence an anchor against spin. He didn't savor the outcome. He filed it. He closed the folder. Somewhere, a judge's name was replaced with a case number, not out of malice but because accountability is not personal. It is structural. The message reached further than a headline. Badges do not exist to be respected. They exist to protect the rules that protect everyone. If 7 minutes could unmask a courtroom, imagine what could change if we refused to let silence rewrite the record outside it.